Hello, Daniel.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for accepting this conversation. It's really an honor to me to have
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Mm. So this interview or this conversation will be about uh, meditation and trauma. I am a psychologist. I am a transpersonal psychologist working with meditation and other tools, Kabbalah included, to help people to overcome trauma. So this is the reason why I came to you to, well, first as a student, many years ago, I went to your retreat center in Canada, and nowadays I've been let's say, considering the need to tell about the importance of practicing meditation to overcome trauma.
Mhm. Yes.
So that's why thank you very much for accepting this, because I know that your wisdom, your experience, and the knowledge will help many people in their journey, soul journey.
Thank you. Yeah, it's my privilege. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to say a few words about you. I mean, I know that people know you already, but I would like to say you are Daniel Schmidt, a Canadian. You have a retreat center, Samadhi Center. You are a filmmaker. Uh, Among all your creations, we have some very popular in the inner worlds, outer worlds, but also some very important films that I would like you to tell us a little bit about. And you've been guiding in-person retreats, but lately only online retreats because you've been dedicated to spread the word
Mhm.
um, through through films.
Mhm.
So could you please tell us a little more about that?
Yeah. So for me, like the films really are just something that was sort of born out of my own practice and my own exploration. So in a way, the films are sort of like an expression of what I've discovered in my own journey, and it's just a way for me to put it out there. And so what I've found, over time, as I go deeper into my own practice, it's almost like the insights that come. They just keep coming, and it seems like they want to be put into the world. So it's just part of my own exploration and part of my own evolution, I guess. Yeah, I always say the films are sort of creating me as much as I'm creating them, because
Mm.
I have to become an effective delivery mechanism for the films. I have to allow myself to, embody what it is that they're pointing towards as well. So it's part of my own healing, my own evolution, awakening, and that's really what they're about. And the recent ones, I have partners that I work with as well, and so collectively, it's our own journey as well. And we've started bringing in other teachers and other people who have their own voices. So it's what excites me now is like we're all kind of speaking the same language and speaking with one voice. Kind of
Mm.
like. In the psychology, like the transpersonal level.
Mhm.
So it's like one voice coming through the many, I guess. That's what
Yeah,
it feels like. Yeah.
yeah,
hmm
absolutely. And it's so valuable because I think it's the way that the inner journey is portrayed in the films is so clear for people to find their own inner path.
hmm Yeah. For me, it's been the most valuable thing on my journey. At the beginning, it was more about healing. There was a kind of a pathological
Mm,
mind-body state that had to be healed. And then at a certain point, once there was sort of a balance that happened, then it became awakening. So it's like healing the self structure, and then awakening from the self structure, which for me is sort of two separate but complementary aspects of the path. Yeah.
mm.
Mhm.
Absolutely, yes. Very, very important. I see it in the same way when I look at the tree of life, the Kabbalistic tree of life, and the extended tree of life that we see behind my back. I see the value of having that map, that
Mhm.
map to carry out that inner journey. And
Mhm.
the way that you portray it is including elements from so many different traditions and
Mhm.
giving them a symbol that speak to people in such powerful way that
Yeah.
help us a lot to, yeah, to continue the journey and know where we are going.
hmm Yeah, I think the map is, I have there's many lenses we can look through to see the unfolding of that journey, and I love like for me the idea of the pathless path. So there is a path, there's an unfolding in this sort of game of liberation that we're playing. But also there's the recognition that, our true nature is just here now as well. And nothing actually really has to unfold. There's a part of us that is this time-bound part that, it is going through a journey, and an unfolding, just like a flower growing and unfolding through time. But yet there's this timeless part of us that once that wakes up, once we recognize that as ourself, then it doesn't matter what stage we're at on that journey, we can still be free of attachment and suffering and all of that. So.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And that's the value of, to me, of meditation, because most of people look at meditation as a, or not most, but many people look at meditation as a tool for awakening. But in this case, I would like to ask you about meditation and as a tool to overcoming trauma. So
Mhm.
what has been your experience with meditation, or what, first of all, what is meditation for you, and then uh, how do you connect meditation with
Mhm.
overcoming trauma?
Yeah, so maybe I can talk in two ways about it, because I have my own personal journey, personal experience with it, and then also from working with participants at retreats as well. So collectively, what I've discovered, like meditation, often many people have different ideas when they use that word. What meditation is. So for me, there are many sort of stages to that path, and the unfolding of that path as we come to really know ourselves and go on this awakening journey. So for me, at the beginning, when I was really identified with the character, with the Dan character. I was just living a life that was not very conscious, so the mind body pattern was not healthy. Not it was so there were a lot of health problems. So for me, the an imbalance whenever there's a part of our being that is sort of separate. It's sort of, however we want to say it. You could say dissociated, or so a trauma really is just, there's like a split that happens where there's a part of us that is operating in the unconscious. And everyone, everyone who isn't a Buddha, which is everyone, they have these parts that are operating unconsciously, in the shadows. And so for me, like a trauma is just, there was something that happened at some point in the journey where, that experience wasn't able to be fully processed. We couldn't, so the energy split off into the unconscious, and it started to operate autonomously, or
Yeah.
hidden in the shadows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, all meditation is, whether we call it trauma. Some people, they have these parts that are operating in the shadows, but it might not be as strong, or as powerful of a pattern, as someone who has trauma. So at a certain point, if it's a big experience that creates this split, then we call it a trauma. But for me, it's, all of our hidden unconscious parts are really, it's the same sort of operation, or the same exploration that we're doing with meditation. And so like in the ancient traditions, they would call these the samskaras, the hidden patterns. So like a trauma is like a big samskara. It's just a samskara that has a certain momentum and certain energy. But the process, of becoming free is the same for everyone, really. So what I've discovered, and a lot of meditation teachers have discovered, is that, when people have that, when they're holding a big trauma, or they have there's this big charge, when we go into meditation practices, sometimes, if that unconscious pattern gets activated during a meditation, someone can go into an overwhelm state. The nervous system, it can be, as we start to touch those hidden unconscious parts. So in the meditation world, they talk about trauma-informed meditation, which is just being aware of that possibility, that when we start to touch those deeper places, that there can be a sort of activation, or even a dissociation that can start to happen, if once that starts to become conscious, once the energy starts to flow in that pattern. So I would say, the type of meditation that is beneficial, for myself and for participants, that I've seen, who are holding that kind of trauma. I would say we want to go, slowly and consciously, rather than, going into these practices that, sometimes it can open up a lot of energy very quickly, and that's when people can go into overwhelm states, and it can be, destabilizing, actually, if we go into meditation, too quickly, because,
Absolutely.
the paradox, I think, is, really, for me, meditation is, eventually, we're letting go of this ego structure, like we're letting go of identification with the ego. So the paradox is, when we come to meditation, everyone who comes to it is identified with that ego
Yeah.
and that little doer. So they come to it and it's like, okay, I'm going to do meditation. I'm going to do something. I'm going to do this technique. I'm going to do this activity that I call meditation. But it's actually that doer that drops away over time. So what I've seen is, sometimes when people have trauma, I've had people come to retreats where, that little doer is on a mission. It's like they're storming the gates of heaven. I want to realize samadhi. I want to awaken, but it's the ego that is doing it. And the deeper our trauma is, the more power sometimes that ego will have. It
Yeah.
can the more we want to do meditation, the further we get away from
Yeah.
which is the letting go of that doer and the surrender of that ego. So I think understanding that, that paradox is really fundamental
Yeah. Yeah.
to yeah. Hmm.
Absolutely, because the identity is tinted by the traumatic experience.
Hmm.
It is conformed, it is constructed
Yeah.
using that element. I mean, the trauma it can be in the unconscious or playing in the subconscious, but the identity is carrying those components. I mean, the ego identity. So
Yeah.
when going into meditation, when we close our eyes and begin the inner journey, we undoubtedly we will encounter those elements, images, in memories, in bodily reactions, as you said. The body can have a reaction by only having those flashbacks in a moment of meditation.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you, yeah, so when you say that the letting go and surrendering,
Hmm.
that identity, being able to make the distinction and
Hmm.
having a clear view of that lower identity, I say lower conscious identity, the
Hmm.
ego consciousness,
Yeah.
identifying that and knowing that we are not that, and we can go further to encountering the self.
Hmm. Yeah. And to me, that surrender, like what is it that we're surrendering? So to me,
Mhm.
what really is almost like a knot that binds the sense of me to
Mhm.
to that false ego. Those knots, there's really two main knots in meditation. So the body, we always, when there's trauma, there's a discomfort, there's a resistance pattern there. So
Mhm.
the body always wants to, avoid pain. It wants to feel pleasure, so that seeking of pleasure,
Mhm.
is one knot. The body always wants pleasure and avoids pain. And so that cycle of craving and aversion is a big one, going into the somatic field and just actually feeling that, allowing, because the trauma, when it was experienced initially, it wasn't allowed to be fully felt. It was an
Yeah.
incomplete experience. So undoing that knot, we gradually open ourselves, surrender to those somatic feelings that are there.
Yeah.
And then the other knot, which is another big one, is the mind. So that's the body component, and then the mind always wants to be a knowing mind and
Yeah.
a controlling mind. So the mind it's the doer. It wants to
Mhm.
do something and to be in control. So surrendering that knowing And like in Zen, they call it a don't know mind,
Mhm.
a mind
Yeah.
that is like a beginner's mind, where we're not controlling or doing anything, but we're actually getting ourselves out of the way and just allowing everything to be as it is in that moment. And to me, both of those together are surrender. So we're surrendering within the body, just allowing ourselves to fully feel on the deepest somatic level. Without, so we're not labeling, this sensation is good, this sensation is bad, but just having equanimity to whatever is arising. And there still may be, contractions and resistance, but at least we're not resisting the resistance. We're just allowing that to be exactly as it is. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, and then letting go of the controller and the that doing part of the mind as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Mhm.
interesting. I uh, when surrendering, I see it also uh, as knowing that we are not that because we identify with that pain or with that experience, and we believe or we feel, and at that level of consciousness, we feel that we are that.
Mhm.
That pain becomes our identity, and we feel that we cannot go any further. Like surrendering feels so scary,
Mhm.
so scary. And at the same time, the mind has created so many mechanisms of defense
Yeah.
to go around it, or to continue living,
Mhm.
continue with life. So when in meditation, we need to make that exercise of surrendering and letting the mind not be in control. The
Mhm.
mind gets very annoyed and
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and I think like you're touching on something, I think the further we go with the meditation, it's almost like we start to see these mechanisms that are in play with the
Mhm.
mind. And the more clearly we see those mechanisms, it's almost like the meditation starts to become a self-inquiry, so when we're talking about the mind, we're talking about the mind as an object. So it's not me, or we're looking at the pain. So it's only a problem if it's my pain, it's this I thought, that so it really, I think I see how meditation and self-inquiry really converge at a certain point. And
Mhm.
really meditation becomes self-inquiry at a certain point. There we start to make this whole mind body conscious and see it as this pattern. And then we can inquire, like, who is it that's aware of
Yeah.
this mind body pattern? There's an awareness. So if I am aware, I'm not caught in that. I'm not in identified with that. So who am I, that is aware? There's an awareness that is here. And this whole field of changing phenomena, which is made up of all these sensations and perceptions and the preferences of the mind, even the attention of the mind that is moving, here and there. I'm aware of that. I see that. So that whole mind structure, who's aware of that, and to me, if we can directly experience that awareness, which to me that's what awakening is, when we have a direct experience of that awareness, and we wake up to a sense of I that is not merely an I thought.
Yeah.
It's but it's it's an eyeless I. It's a selfless self that wakes up. Then that's the liberation that all the the big guys are the teachers, the Buddha. They're all talking about that. Direct experience, a direct knowing of what we are beyond this name and form.
Yeah, yes. It's in Kabbalah is called, I mean, higher consciousness or differentiated consciousness at the crown of the body and at the very core, at the heart of the psyche is the place of the self, and
Yeah.
that point is called Tiferet. So Tiferet is when we reach that place and when we move from ego consciousness to self-consciousness. We can see there on that diagram at the very center is the center of the place of the self, is when higher consciousness can be manifested. And
Yeah.
the manifestation or the manifestation of higher consciousness can activate the healing power of that divine dimension or a spiritual dimension of us. So
Mm-hmm.
then it's not the mind healing us or trying to do something to overcome trauma, but it's really that higher dimension being awakened or manifested, and
Yeah.
the healing begins.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I love that. To me, like what you just said there is it. If we, like in the meditation at the beginning, we're before we have that awakening, I see there's sort of two main stages in meditation. There's the meditation where we're still identified with the character. So there's just this surrendering that's happening, this letting go, being okay with what is, equanimity, and then the byproduct of that is this awakening starts to happen. This sense of awareness starts to wake up, and so it's like there's the sense of I is becoming disentangled from this character, and so when that sense of I comes out of the character, then the energy that was going in that pattern becomes free. And the way I describe it is, that energy is the healing energy. It's the
Yeah.
it has its own intelligence. So we don't control that energy. It just all we do is just surrender and allow it to do its thing. So the more we allow it to just circulate freely and not be running in those old patterns, the more it can bring about healing. And for me on my own path, I had a really pathological mind-body pattern, rheumatoid arthritis and type 1 diabetes. My body, mind was really out of whack. And it was actually Vipassana meditation, which was the beginning of my healing. And so with that meditation technique, it's just you're bringing consciousness into the somatic field, not labeling any sensation as good or bad, just letting it be as it is. And eventually, there's this sort of free flow of energy that starts to happen, and when that happens, we can't make any particular healing happen, but
Mm.
but that to me that's the condition that we want, where you could say spirit or energy, it knows what to do. So whatever our path is, whatever our soul path is, we allow that space where that energy is circulating freely, and then whatever's meant to happen will happen from there. And
Yes,
yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. It's very powerful. It's a
Mhm.
very, I mean, it's an energy, I mean, or a dimension in us that is always there, but the mind, the controlling mind, that consciousness doesn't allow that dimension to work freely
Yeah.
and to be there, I mean, to experience our full potential as human beings
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
connection with the divine matrix, with the divine source.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that that energy when it is free, you know, if it's just going into that little conditioned self, we can go through a whole lifetime and
Mm.
just playing out. It's like playing out a script, or a
Yeah.
pattern. And
Mm.
but when it's free, then these different dimensions start to come online. So
Mm.
the Sephiroth or the chakras or whatever lens you want to, the tree of life, it
Mm.
starts to activate inside of us. And then these different interfaces or different aspects of ourself are, it's like we grow them literally like a
Mm.
tree, and we become able to experience different dimensions of our life and our
Mm.
possibility for our soul's journey. So I think, in the meditation, the freeing of that energy is the beginning of this real evolutionary journey that is happening within the self structure. And,
Mm.
so activating the third eye and the crown chakra and the heart and, these different energy centers. And there, all of these different traditions have different ways of describing it, but and in the big picture, there's just these possibilities for human experience and
Mm.
possibilities for experiencing the world in a way that is not just through the mind and senses,
Mm.
but different, experiences of the heart can come
Yeah.
online, feelings and
Yeah.
things that are we can't really, poets like Rumi would
Mm.
describe them beautifully with words, but there you can't really describe them.
Yeah.
He comes as close as we can with words,
With
but
words. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, indeed. And that's the power of trauma, of a traumatic experience, is that they really direct the development of the mental processes and mental beliefs. And the person creates all kind of ideas and a strict form to be in the world. I mean, to experience himself or herself, and then through that structure, pathological or not good structure,
Yeah,
is interacting with the world.
yeah,
So meditation is a powerful tool to teach that person, to guide that person to get to, first of all, to identify that lower identity or that constructed identity, knowing that she is not that,
yeah,
and guiding that person to find the true self, free from from conditionings, free
yeah,
from mental and bodily conditioning.
yeah. Yeah, and I think a big part of that is, along the way we'll discover these beliefs that we're holding and
Mm.
and start to really question those beliefs. If we have a trauma as a child,
Yeah.
there might be, a sense like a belief that I can't trust, or I can't, or maybe I'm, all different beliefs, maybe
Yeah.
I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, or there's
Yeah.
something wrong with me. And so all of these beliefs, the meditation will start to untangle this whole web. And there's always, with every belief, there's a somatic kind of entanglement within the body as well, like a
Yes.
feeling. that's associated with it. So we start to see and unravel it, make it conscious, and then we can really see, that it's not me. It's actually, nothing actually ever happened to me. It's
Mm,
always this character that I've been playing, in
mm,
this life, that this avatar that
mm,
consciousness is inhabiting, and somehow I became identified with this mind body structure, and yeah, so but we have to, it is an excavation, because if these things are running in the unconscious, we can know intellectually, I can say I'm not this mind body, but yet if there are these shadows, these programs running in the shadows, then they still direct the life. There's still this sort of script playing
mm.
out in the
Okay.
background, and we really have to ask, what is making us move in our life?
Mm,
What makes us do the things that we're doing in our life?
mm,
And it brings into view everything that is in play. What are the unconscious motivations for
mm.
um, relationships, for my job, for going after money. All of that is tied in to what is in play, and the sense of I that is at the root of this entanglement with
Mm.
this character.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. I agree with you. I don't know if I am right with this, with, but I think the first stage of, or the first period of meditation, when we are at the beginning of the practice, I think it's important to dig into our complexes, our psychological complexes. Not only aim the awakening, or finding, or getting that state of consciousness, but really uh, doing the hard work,
Yeah.
staying in that structure, in that identity, that
Yeah.
mask, that character that you have mentioned, and
Yeah.
work on it.
Definitely. Yeah. I think, if we look at the self-inquiry process, all of the great self-inquiry teachers, they always say, at the beginning, when you turn attention towards the self, at first it's always going to be the false self. So
Yeah.
we have to intimately know the self
Mm.
structure, get to know the psyche, the ego, how it is hooked into this whole perceptual apparatus, and get to know how it works, because to be free of that, we have to see clearly how this
Mm.
identification process is happening. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So my favorite model for it it comes from the Buddhist teachings, like
Mm.
the five skandha model, and they
Mm.
say this whole apparatus is, we have these sensations, at the a deep root level on this body, sensations, perceptions, and then we develop these preferences in the
Yeah.
mind towards those perceptions, and then there's this witness of that, so the witness and the witnessed,
Mm.
this phenomena that's changing, and the awareness, or the consciousness of that phenomena, that
Yeah.
that together is the duality that we
Mhm.
have to come to see that. And so yeah, so at the beginning, it's just about seeing what is actually in play,
Mm.
and um,
Yeah.
and I think it's important, from what I've seen, especially if there's trauma, it's important to do that work first,
Yeah.
to really go into it, to feel everything, to start to explore that the somatic part of it before going to the later stages of meditation.
Yeah.
Because if we start to do really intensive self-inquiry to try and wake up from the character, if the character isn't sort of balanced, if the psyche isn't
Yeah.
balanced, and we start to initiate that awakening process,
Mm.
that character can freak out,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
can be very, very destabilizing,
Yeah.
confusing, and sometimes not productive at all.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so I think it is really important to do that preliminary work. And for me, it took I probably did 10 years of sort of technique based
Yeah.
meditation work before I eventually I ended up at a Zen center, and then it became sort of the non-doing kind
Mm.
of meditation where you're
Yeah.
just being and just recognizing the awareness that is here, and just so meditation eventually just becomes just being, essentially,
Mhm.
just recognizing this awareness that is
Yeah.
just here. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
very interesting. Yeah, and indeed, by recognizing those characters or those structures that sometimes function as sub personalities,
Mhm.
directing the mask that we use to be in the world and interact with the world.
Yeah.
It's is by doing that we don't mean that the person needs to get rid of that mask completely, because
Mhm.
there are elements of the structure of the personality that has to be there. We need
Mhm.
that strong, those roots strongly connected with reality, with the outside reality.
Yeah. I
Yes.
think that's so important to, yeah, we're not going to battle with the self or the
Yeah.
personality or trying to get rid of it. It's actually,
Yeah.
I love in there's that in psychology they have that the parts theory, where it's like you have, we've sort of exiled these parts of ourselves. So we have all these exiles, and then we have these protector parts that are protecting those. So to me, that's what the meditation is. It's
Mm.
inviting all those parts back in, just loving all those parts of ourself,
Yeah.
just by allowing them to be as they are.
Mm.
Because when you really see what the ego is, it's just like it's all of the separation that's happening is
Mm.
it's resisting.
Yeah.
Even a trauma, this experience was resisted, and
Yeah.
the resistance becomes the ego. The ego is just nothing but resisting.
Mm.
So we, in order to become integrated, we just recognize that resistance that's happening
Yeah.
already. It's just happening, and we're it's like we're inviting these parts of ourself back in to be reunited by dropping that resistance, just by fully allowing that energy to flow again. And uh,
Yeah.
and I think that's really key. What you said is we don't want to push away any part of ourself. We want to allow all of it, and so that the ego structure, the self structure, is it's part of it's our interface with the world. It's
Yeah.
so we love that. We don't want to get rid of it or transcend it. It's actually we just want to have it clear. We
Yes.
clear it of these blockages, and these separations that have happened within it, which make
Mm.
it just it's off kilter. It's not functioning
Yeah.
optimally. So that's all. Yeah.
Yes. Integrated.
Hmm.
We want to have it integrated and in balance, because and trust in the that higher consciousness, that self-consciousness, that consciousness that has the power to reorganize those elements and bring our psychology into balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, it's that trust. It is almost like I grew up in a Catholic family, and my grandmother would say things like, "Not my will, but God's will,"
Yes. Yeah.
and she was right. Like
Yeah.
I think that is what it comes down to is, that we surrender, and there is an intelligence, like there is a higher part of the mind that once we free this energy, we start to integrate that, and it becomes more of us. But at the beginning, it seems like there's this intelligence out there that we just get our little self out of the way and allow that to do its work. And then over time, it becomes more integrated. Um, but I think it really is, not my
Mm.
will, but the
Yeah.
heart's will or God's will or however you want to say it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Higher consciousness will, or
Yeah.
will. Yeah, it has so many names.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yes. But the one who has reached that state knows. I mean, it's not a mental activity, or it's not an intellectual uh, understanding. It's really a clear
yeah.
state of being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. There's that analytical part of the mind, that knowing part of the mind has to actually surrender, so there is, to me, that don't know mind or beginner's mind
Mm.
has to be there. It's a humbled mind. In
Yeah.
Christianity, they would say you have to
Yeah.
become humbled, and
Yes.
so like it's almost like a childlike mind, like becoming like a child to enter the
Yeah.
kingdom of God. So
Yes.
you can't do it with this controlling and knowing, but the
Mm.
surrendered state, and it really is a state, of direct experience, a direct, kind of energetic state that is, yeah, it's not just a concept.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Very interesting. And I would like to ask you about that individual work and the collective work, how the individual work, the individual healing of a trauma can help to heal collective trauma.
Mhm.
Nowadays, we are experiencing collective trauma in many parts of the globe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that collective trauma, like what happens with individuals happens on different cultural levels as well. So different groups of people, the same way that we have a personal trauma, it's like the collective collectively pushes something
Mhm.
away into the collective unconscious. So whatever that is, if there's a cultural, like a war or things that collectively, it's a trauma for the group, that gets pushed into the collective unconscious as well. So the way that we heal the collective, each individual in the collective has to go through their own purification and their own
Yeah.
journey to heal
Yeah.
that societal, like, and it's true, like right now, like we're going through a collective, almost like a dark night of the soul, where all the hidden traumas and the patterns of how we've been living on the earth, these egoic patterns, the patterns of egoic consciousness are becoming more and more visible now.
Yes.
It's like nothing is hidden now these days. Like,
Mm.
we're seeing in all these different levels and, religions and political, economic, all these levels, we're starting to see the
Mm.
egoic consciousness, the grasping and the materialism that has been involved with all of it. So as we untangle it for ourselves, it's untangling in the collective as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes, I do see that also because at higher consciousness level, we are all united. I mean, there is where we meet as humans.
yeah,
So whatever I do in my personal domain, I am affecting or inflicting or helping the collective consciousness or are really damaging.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's a paradox again of, when we really start to progress on our path of awakening, we realize it's not me that awakens actually.
Mm.
I'm like the Dan character obviously doesn't awaken. I it's there's an awareness that awakens from that character.
Mm.
And so the interesting paradox is that the more each of us awakens, the more we start to see the world as the one consciousness. We see that the one consciousness is playing all of these characters, and so we start to see that, and we see the world as being more awake, actually. So literally, the more awake I am, the more I see the world as awake. Which
Okay.
it seems backwards. We think, at the beginning of the path, we think, I'm going to awaken. There's this, I'm going to be
Yeah,
awake, and the world is all messed up, but I'm going to be awake. But actually, the further we go,
yeah.
we start to see it's all one nature. It's all, Buddha nature, Christ consciousness, transpersonal consciousness, whatever we call it, and and
Mhm.
and it's we start to see that, feel it directly everywhere,
Mhm.
and so the world, literally, as we go on our own journey, the world becomes more awake, and we see past. We have that more and more capacity to see past egos and to see
Mhm.
the the one source operating, or shining through underneath all of it.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
it's very beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
It's very powerful that because we do what we can from our small environment or our own spectrum of action.
Hmm.
But when we take that responsibility, when we know that we are contributing or being a participant of this consciousness or transpersonal consciousness, then we take our personal responsibility and we need to work on ourselves to help the healing that collective trauma.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's really also like the beginning of real compassion as well, when we
Mhm.
start to really know who we are. If I know
Yeah.
truly who I am, not the character, but this one awareness, then I see who everyone else is as well. I see.
Mhm.
So when I see the truth, that we're all this one consciousness just playing this game of hide and seek, then there's a natural compassion, and it's it's not a compassion that's born out of any idea that I have to be a good person or do something good in the world, but actually compassion
Mm,
that comes just from seeing the truth, just
mhm,
recognizing the truth that we are literally all one. We're one.
mm.
So what I do to another, you know, it literally is me. It's all
Yeah.
this one awareness. So so to me, that recognition of that truth, that awakening is, that's what's going to bring, an outer reflection, a world that is more compassionate. Is that truth. Like each individual has to go through that sort of unfolding process to come to
Mm,
that. But to me, that would be a beautiful
mm.
unfolding for the collective.
Yeah.
I think right now there's a lot of individuals going through that process, but
Mm,
it'll be really interesting when when there are more people who've gone through that process. I think
yeah.
then we'll start to see these you know different unfoldings for social groups. I think
Mm,
we'll see once the wars and these things, these collective traumas have been sort of healed,
mm.
that it'll be really interesting to see how humanity unfolds.
Yeah. 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 It sounds like a liberation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
yeah, we don't know what that'll look like, but
Yeah.
because it's hasn't happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the Buddhist world, they talk about, like there's like the person, the sort of individual journey, of awakening to our true nature. But there's also, they talk about the feminine Buddha, the Maitreya Buddha, which
Mm,
is, the collective consciousness. So we can awaken personally, but we can also awaken collectively as well. And so some of the teachers, talk about this as the future Buddha is, this collective awakening, which is something totally new. It's like experiencing, humanity more as one organism,
yeah.
that we share this collective Buddha nature. And
Mm,
so I feel like that's something that we're growing into, and
yeah.
we can, when we're around others who are awake, we start to feel into that and experience it a little bit. But I think there's a huge evolutionary potential that we just don't know what that'll look like, but
Mm,
it'll be
yeah.
pretty.
Yes. Indeed. Indeed. But when we want to have a better world, the way of contributing is by doing our personal work.
Yeah,
The great work is called in Kabbalah,
yeah,
great
yeah.
work,
That's it.
the inner work. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's it. And I think that whatever flows from that, then we, if I can drop my ego agenda and start to align with that inner energy, then it's like it really is just following our aliveness and our you
mm,
know, to me, that whatever our soul wants to express in this life, the individuation of that soul is, it feels alive, it feels good, it's like we follow our bliss, to find that soul purpose, and I think, for me, the purpose isn't a purpose in the sense that, like I have some mission or something. That would be the ego trying to do
yeah,
something. Like it'd be like a burden, So,
mm,
so to me, the purpose is sort of aligning again with the higher will, feeling that aliveness and that energy, and then somehow, this divine plan starts to unfold collectively, and we're all just playing our little part in that, you know,
Mm.
that unfolding. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, Daniel, I don't know if you want to add something more about to this conversation. It's been very rich, all your, I mean,
Yeah, no,
wisdom in the,
it's beautiful. Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. It's yeah, really I appreciate you reaching out, and it's
mm,
good to see you again. Yeah.
yeah, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Yes, on the contrary, it's to me, and also at the same time, a responsibility. It feels to me a responsibility to communicate, to bring the message, and
Mhm.
to tell people that there are other ways to face their difficulties and their traumas. I mean, psychology has so much to do and develop, and incorporating other tools coming from the transpersonal. It's, to me, is a responsibility, and that's why uh, receiving your knowledge and your wisdom from, I mean, the first source, because you've done that inner journey. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, you
So
too. You
it's
too. You're
yeah,
yeah. So
yes, yeah,
yeah,
me too. I've done it. Yes.
beautiful work. Yeah.
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 Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. So, shall we close now our conversation? Do you think we could add any other important topic?
Maybe just maybe mention if people want to explore the resources on the
Yeah.
awakentheworld.com. Um, yeah, there's lots of meditation resources, self-inquiry resources, films, and links to all different teachings.
Yeah.
So
Great.
that's
Yeah.
awakentheworld.com, and it's in many different languages as well. So people can choose their language as well.
Yes, great. I will write down all the information and the description of this video, and so people will can find more information about you and the website and the retreat center, and well, and the YouTube channel that I love the all the information that you post frequently on your YouTube channel as well. So, and the app, you said that you have a new app on self-inquiry app, you said.
It's coming. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
working on it. So yeah, it's going to be an app for people to engage in self-inquiry dyads, and using kind of the Charles Berner self-inquiry method. So there's going to be if you go on the website, there's a whole section on self-inquiry, and
Yeah.
we're it's what we're using at our online retreats as well. So
Mhm.
right now we're just doing it with Zoom, so people are hooking up using Zoom, and it's just a beautiful, very fast way of bringing up whatever's hidden in the unconscious, and doing that deep inner work. So it's a beautiful tool. It's my favorite tool
Yeah.
that is out there. So
Okay, great. And you told us about, I mean, no, you told me before the interview that you are working on three important films or a 3 years film, something like it. Would you give us
yeah. So there's three films in the works right now.
yeah,
So one is Awakening Mind Part 3,
yeah,
which we've interviewed a whole bunch of
yeah,
different teachers again, and it's really about self-inquiry. So the title of that one is Who Am I?
yeah,
And it's just exploring sort of a direct inquiry. And then we have another film coming out about Ramana Maharshi and his
Okay.
teachings. So this one is called Turiya. So Turiya is the fourth state, the recognition of the ground of our being. And so that's sort of about Ramana and his teachings. And then the third one is called sadhana, which is about practice. So it's just going into how it works and exploring the spiritual practices of all different traditions, and just seeing sort of how it all works, how the mechanism of sadhana works, and really what's going on in the mind and body when we do that work. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, that's really so needed. It's
Mm.
so needed. So yeah, wonderful. I'm looking forward to see them. Yeah, you said that it will be a series of short films.
Yeah, I think so. I think sadhana, it just keeps expanding. Originally, it was going to be just a film, but I think now it's going to be like a mini series. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So it has its own life. So I'm never exactly sure, but it just keeps growing and expanding. So I think it'll probably be quite a few different small parts. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, wonderful. We are waiting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Dan. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful connecting.
Yes. Yeah. For me too. Yeah. Thank you for your wisdom.
Thanks, Paula.
Mm. Okay. Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Hit. There we go.